Day before yesterday, that was on the 25th of December, we were talking about the way of purifying the body by purifying the mind. And the Buddha has given this discourse to beautify the mind as an example, a story about a young devotee, or a young monk who was discontented. And so this young devotee came to the teacher, and the teacher was quite intelligent to be able to provide him with the easy practices first and foremost. Giving easy practices to those or to one who was not so familiar with the Buddha's teaching is quite reasonable. After giving him these easy teachings, the teacher was to take him along the path towards higher practices. The purpose of this young man was very good, because he wanted to be free from suffering. Hence, he requested the teacher to give him or to teach him a method to be free from suffering. It was quite polite and suggestion, and he requested in a suitable manner. As regards in those days, as became a rich man's son, perhaps he was enjoying life in his own right. Perhaps he was able to enjoy all sensual pleasures, pleasures of objects, pleasures of senses, pleasures of visible object, sound, smell, taste, touch, and so on, as much as he could get in his own right. And perhaps he was able to satisfy his life. However, he must have had some problems which we really don't know. And if one is enjoying sensual pleasures day in and day out, enjoying the same thing over and over again, it is more likely that one would get saturated with all these sense desires or pleasures and fed up with one's life. Hence, perhaps he discovered that the sensual life was not substantial. There was no substance in this sensual life. So he wanted a way out. Even now, yogis who are here have come all the way from far away, from developed countries. They must have had all the things they want. However, the fact that they come here to undertake a practice shows that the sensual desires, sensual pleasures, or luxuries that they are, which are available at their command, were not enough to satisfy them. So, understanding that the practice is necessary, the practice to know the nature of the object is necessary. So they wanted to practice Satipatthana. There are some yogis who said that with the practice of Satipatthana, they were able to live their lives in a good way, in a satisfactory way, or they know how to live their lives. Now, they say that the best export of this country is the practice of Satipatthana Bhavana. And they said that now after the practice of Satipatthana, they found a place to live peacefully. They got a home now, so to speak. Though sensual pleasures were available at their fingertips, it is sure now that these pleasures don't provide real peace of mind. So only when they undertake the practice of Satipatthana, coming in pursuit of this spiritual practice, they found the solution to the problem. So the yogis who are also here understand this situation, knowing the benefit of the practice. It is necessary that they should cherish and appreciate the practice. Although there are still some yogis who are on the marginal side, not being dedicated to the practice. In this way, the young devotee requested the teacher to give him a method of teaching of the method for liberation from sufferings. Now, when the teacher was giving instructions, he was not doing it for self-interest. He was doing it in a sincere way. First of all, teach him easy methods, such as acts of generosity, giving dana, because it is easy, not so difficult. Later, to give away 4 requisites, beginning with the robes. And then when the devotee asked what next, then the teacher gave him methods which are easy to do. The teacher asked him to divide his property into 3. One part would be used for his business, another part to look after his family, and the remaining part to support the Buddha Sasana. In this connection, the instructions given in the Sigala Vada, the advice to Sigala, young Sigala, in that it was to be divided into 4 portions, and 1 portion was to consume for one's use, and 2 portions were to be used for investment, and no portion was allocated for dana. That means dana would be given from what one was using for food. So in this way, instructions were given in that advice to young Sigala. As for the monks, when they are going on alms round or going for alms, they are to behave like bees, sucking nectar from the flowers and leaves. When they suck the nectar from flowers, they only suck the nectar without destroying the beauty of the flowers. This should be the method how the monks should go on alms. When they are practicing for the liberation from suffering, they are to receive dana from devotees, not to make demands, but to behave like the bees, sucking only the nectar without destroying the flowers. So this is for the monks to take care. As the son of the rich, the young devotee approached his teacher and did whatever was instructed by the teacher. And after he had performed all these things as instructed, he would ask, what next, teacher, Venerable Sir? And as a person who had strong faith, he was very willing to undertake any instructions, to follow any instructions by the teacher. This is something for us to emulate. Nowadays also, yogis are practicing Satipatthana Bhavana in accordance with the Buddha's expositions, desana, and as instructed by the meditation teachers. And if they have their faith and confidence, they would ask what next after they have performed in accordance with the instructions of the teacher, like this young devotee. Because as for this young devotee, he was not content with the good deeds that he had been doing as instructed by the teacher. He was so encouraged to do good deeds. Hence he asked what next to do. And then at this point, the teacher gave him the next step, that is to take refuge in the three treasures, the Buddha, Dhamma, Sangha, showing him the qualities of these three treasures, giving instructions with loving kindness and compassion, not in the way of forcing this young man to do this or that. The teacher was giving instructions only at the request of this young devotee. And also the teacher was willing in giving further instructions, but not so difficult ones. This also is something for us to emulate. And then he was able to practice in accordance with the teacher's instructions. The essence of his practices were dana and sila, generosity and moral conduct. As regards dana, one is sharing one's property or one's belongings with others as much as one can afford, so as to satisfy the needs of those who need such material things, helping them to satisfy them, helping them with the requisites, with the required materials, which is a social responsibility. It's discharging a social responsibility. As regards sila, morality, one is abstaining from what should be abstained, so that one becomes a fully human being, or one becomes a worthy human being, or one is behaving like a human being. And as regards the observation of 10 precepts, there are these fine precepts such as abstention totally from sexual actions, abstaining from taking food in the afternoon, abstaining from beautifying oneself, or enjoying music, and abstaining from sleeping or staying on luxurious beds or seats, and handling money. So in this way, the teacher gave him instructions in a clever way, so that he was able to pull him along gradually, so that he was able to practice from easy practices to something higher and higher practices. Not in a way of forcing the young man to do this or that, such as if you do this, you will be liberated, if you do that, you will be punished. Not in a way of giving such threats or using force. So the teacher only showed him that if you do this, you are going to get this kind of benefit. This is all that the teacher gave the instructions, which was done in a very clever way. So it was not in the sense of pulling him along towards faith by force, by threat or by wealth. It was only satisfying his desires, because satisfying his request to do good things and to put him on the right path, and to prevent him to walk on the wrong path. And this was not forcing other people to believe in one's faith and so on. And the teacher was giving him instructions as requested. So we can just imagine at this point, one is bound to gain several benefits by just doing these acts of generosity. One is able to overcome the latent tendencies of impurities which had been all along with us throughout our lifetimes, such as the extreme form of greed, extreme form of anger, ill will, aversion, pride, delusion, and so on. In respect of the objects, one may be overcome by greed, hatred. By indulging in them, one may be committing wrongdoings by body and speech, so as to cause suffering to the society. So, by this act of generosity, one is overcoming these things, that is, undesirable things. We can say that we are giving them a minus sign, that is taking away the causes which will lead to suffering. If you don't do anything, then one will not be able to show this minus sign. One may even be showing plus sign, that is, one may be doing more unwholesome deeds, and even multiple sign, multiplication sign, multiplying them. That is, one may be increasing the unwholesome deeds by leaps and bounds. So by doing dana, one is giving the minus sign. Because one is sharing one's own property, one's own belongings with others, so that others will not suffer for want of these belongings. Because one is satisfying the needs of others, one is showing minor sign on craving and aversion gradually, because one is wishing for the satisfaction of the receivers, the society. One is doing this dana with loving kindness. One is showing sign on dosa, that is, one's anger, aversion will be reduced. That is as much as to say one is showing minor sign on dosa. Because one is doing with altruistic feeling, sympathetic feeling, one will be able to overcome the extreme form of anger, thus opening the way to the practice of moral virtues, sila. Such is the benefit of giving dana. Because one is giving away with loving kindness and compassion, and seeing others who receive your share are able to use these materials, enjoy these materials. By observing them, you will have sympathetic joy known as mudita. Because others are fulfilled, there will be no envy, avarice. Because you are satisfied, there will be no such thing as envy and avarice. Also, you are doing it in a humble way. You will not have mana, pride or conceit. And because you are doing this act of generosity with full faith in the positive results of this act of generosity, you will be free from skeptical doubt. Hence, you are possessing this faith and confidence. For those who don't believe in the future existences, holding this view of annihilation, that if one does good deed, since there is no more existence after this, then there is no need for doing good things to realize good benefits in the future existences. And if one does unwholesome deeds, since they don't believe in future existences, they may be committing unwholesome deeds because since there is no future existence, they will not suffer these unwholesome results of these unwholesome deeds. So they may dare commit unwholesome deeds because they are not going to suffer from these consequences. And when one is doing dana, one is not doing in a childish way, like giving it away without knowledge. If one is doing without knowledge, then one lacks faith and confidence. Now, as for this young man, he was doing these acts of generosity with knowledge, knowing the benefits of the generosity. So, in this way, one is able to overcome many unwholesome results, unwholesome deeds, unwholesome results, leading to suffering, thus showing a minor sign to all these evil deeds, evil consequences. How commendable is this act of generosity. In this case, these unwholesome deeds are replaced by wholesome deeds. Unprofitable things are replaced by profitable states. And in place of greed, there is non-greed. In place of anger or hatred, there will arise non-hatred, and in place of delusion, lack of knowledge, it will be replaced by knowledge, and there will be in place of mana, pride, and envy, avarice, they will be replaced by profitable mental states such as mudita, sympathetic joy, faith and confidence, and so on. So, because he is not holding wrong views, he is holding right views, because he was doing things accompanied with knowledge. So there are many good results, positive consequences as a result of this good deed, and showing minor sign or reducing the undesirable consequences, undesirable deeds, instead showing a plus sign, positive sign on positive deeds. How satisfying is such act of generosity. Hence it is said that if you know how to give, you are bound to be good. So, as the aftermath of this dana, there are bound to be many benefits. In the text is given these two things in Pali's Parisaga and Patigha, because one is renouncing or foregoing or letting them go, one will be able to come to possess things. By giving way or by renouncing, one will realize things. For instance, if you are renouncing or overcoming this greed in an ordinary form or in an excessive form, which give suffering, which give unwholesome consequences, you are foregoing this, renouncing this, with faith and confidence, with courage, without attachment. That is in the case of the act of generosity. Such as, then you will be getting, by renouncing them, you will be gaining things. You will come to possess things, such as pure mentality or pure stream of consciousness, free of greed and hatred, either in the simple form or excessive form. Then you come to possess pure mentality or stream of consciousness, free of pride or conceit. And then you come to possess faith and confidence in place of delusion or lack of clarity of the mind or cloudiness of the mind. Right views in place of wrong views, you come to possess this. And then knowing things in a clear-cut manner, knowledge, instead of ignorance. In this way you will come to possess these pure mentality or pure stream of consciousness by foregoing or renouncing the unwholesome roots or unwholesome or unprofitable states such as greed, hatred, and so on. So if on the other hand, you are not able to give minus sign to those where you should give minus sign, that is, if you are not reducing these unprofitable things, then you will not gain what you should gain. You will not come to possess what should be possessed. So just with the dana kusala alone, you can just imagine how beneficial, how profitable is the act of generosity. You come to possess faith and confidence and all these beautiful mental states, many, many beautiful mental states. And you come to possess wealth even by giving away. That is bhoga sampatti. There are all sorts of ways of giving away. Some give away dana for dana's sake, that is good motivation, volition, chetana. Some give away with metta, loving kindness, wishing for the welfare of others, or giving away with compassion, a compassionate feeling, having compassion towards those who are in want of things. Or one may be giving away just to maintain the traditions of giving. And there are all sorts of ways of giving, all sorts of motives. And in this case, like the case of the young man, he was doing it with the noble purpose of liberation from suffering, not for fame, gain and honor in the worldly sense. In this way, as for the present occasion, one is doing it with pure motive, so that if one is doing it with pure motive, then the receiver of these goods, the dana, will respond with loving kindness, wishing for your happiness, wishing for your health, and so on. So in this way, by giving away, the receiver will also be able to practice sympathetic feeling towards you, that is mudita. In this way, the good deeds will become like an infectious disease. It'll infect, it'll go on transmitting from one to another. In this way, this one will be able to, or people will be able to practice virtuous deeds. So in this way, one will be able to, by one good deed, another person also will be able to possess or to practice good deeds in this way. That's all for today.